Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and when you're watching this. For me, it is currently Saturday, August 14th, 2021. It is 10 after 11 a.m. It occurs to me that I totally forgot to edit the titles for this stream. I'm going to go do that right now. So this is Return to V3 Runner APIs. It is August 14th, not August 7th. Let's see, what else did I do wrong? Put it in my playlist. Yeah, that's good. Recording date, August 14th. Stream location, Seattle, Washington. There we go. All right, now let's pop that thing up and make sure that all the titles and everything look good. Okay, that looks better. All right, of course, I did all of that while you weren't watching, because that's just kind of how I am sometimes. So, what are we doing today? Well, I thought it was time for us to get back to the V3 Runner API and see if, a few months in stasis has turned anything out that's kind of interesting. One thing I did, which I did, I guess, a couple of days ago. It's been, let's see. So our four commits here are January, March, May, and June. So it means it's been a couple of months since we did this. And also the June one, I love this comment. I have no idea what I'm doing. Please send help. So I rebased these on top of dev. I pulled a couple of things into dev in the meantime. So I noticed there was some issues with deserialization. Not like I wasn't catching deserialization errors that are new in V3. But previously in V2 we never threw. So there was a case of needing to catch deserialization issues now that we're using the built-in deserialization and get those things reported back. And so, like, whereas I expected deserialization to just return null, so I moved this, what was a null coalesce operator, I moved that up here into try catch. And then here, what I noticed was that there were test cases, like if the deserialization threw in a test case, it would throw here, and at that point, we needed to just catch that and report it, and then ignore that test case. Because what was happening is that would sort of bubble out into a try catch that was up a level, and it would kill this for each and stop us from running all the tests that we could run. So if there's deserialization issues, which there shouldn't be, but if there are, we don't want it to prevent us from running the tests that can successfully deserialize. Okay, so then we have this. Ensure pre-enumerated theories are turned off in MS Build V2. So, yeah, I mean, we turned on pre-enumeration somewhere down here while we were doing the new theory data row. We turned pre-enumeration back on by default. And so when we're running the V2 test, the pre-enumeration stuff definitely fails. I'm not going to go back and fix it. Because for the most part, it would require a framework update to fix, and we're not doing any more V2 changes. So there's that. So I had to turn that off. And then, this is the rebase of the V3 TCP runner branch. I have 4 commits here. Some of them don't work. And by don't work, what I mean is, like, if I stop at each one of these commits and pull them and try and run tests, they don't always run. And we definitely have cases here where, let's do ignore space change. We definitely have cases here where things are failing for strange reasons. I know when we turn pre-enumeration off, so, like, I don't remember exactly where we turned pre-enumeration off here. I think it was here is probably where we went through and just did disable discovery enumeration on all the theories. Like there's a bunch of these that fail for reasons that have to do with string formatting. So why is that an issue for v3? Well, I think the same thing that's happening with string formatting is what's actually causing us to fail to return some of our tests across the test boundary. And so what ends up happening is we end up sort of reporting failures that were really failures to report the result of the test as opposed to a failure in the test itself. And I think they're related. Like in my gut, they feel related. They're like the failures would be things like we had cases where we enumerated strings and we expected, like we ran things and then when we got the results back, we expected results to be printed in a particular way and they weren't printed in a particular way because of Unicode issues. And so I feel like maybe fixing it so that we don't have to do this in particular would be a very welcome change. So, but one thing I did is, in the combination of these 4 commits, I have tests will successfully run in Runner utility. That's good, and we're building everywhere, which is good. So I feel like I can make the font on this a little bit bigger, I think. I don't know if that's just going to affect this one window or if it's going to affect them all. I guess we'll find out. So I kind of want to dig a little bit into this before we get into the v3 runner stuff, because even though it doesn't feel related, it actually does feel related to me. So I'd like to kind of see if there's something we can do about that. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's move back to dev, right? And then do a quick build here, which will do verification that everything is working correctly. We don't expect this to fail. But while that's running its build, let's go find one of these things. All right, so the argument formatter tests, I believe argument formatter exhibits some of the problems that we're having. So let's go look at the argument formatter tests. And let's turn off this pre-enumeration here. And this is an assert test, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's wait for this to come back and tell us everything was okay. I mean, everything looks okay. Yeah, now we're in MS build. Okay, so let's run these assert tests. Let's verify that they're still failing. They should be, although they may not be because we probably don't have pre-enumeration turned on here. All right, so let's go with pre-enumerate theories. So we don't have this turned on by default in the console runner yet. We just turned it on in our runner. And so here we see the reason that we've done this, which is, hey, we expected to see this literal string, but instead we saw this. So it's DC and D8 and DC with D8. And you'll notice that that's 3 of the 4 of these. And what we notice is happening here is, for starters, we can't we don't seem to be able to put this in inline data, which I find very interesting, right? If I were to try and put this in inline data, at least I'd like to understand why those are an issue. There's a blog post from John Skeet and a Stack Overflow thing. The Stack Overflow thing probably is by John Skeet, which probably led us to that blog post. So it's interesting. Like I don't see any reason why these can't be inline data. I feel like they were member data before because we wanted to be able to skip them, and you couldn't previously skip inline data. So this is the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to go ahead and put these over here. They don't need to be member data anymore. We'll move that comment down. All right. So that will be there. That's a lot of tabs that I didn't want. Thanks, Visual Studio. Yeah, I don't know why that got formatted up there, but there we go. So we should have 3 of the 4 of these now failing again. And so, interestingly, they did, instead of coming back as a single question mark, they come back as double question marks, which makes me think that maybe we still do need to have these things. Let me take out pre-enumerate theories and see what happens here. Yeah, so whatever the failure is there, it's actually in the string. So I'm wrong. These have to go up into member data. So back up there, please. What's kind of interesting about this, though, is so this could be I want to return theory data string. In which case I want to return a new theory data, although I can obviously do it like this. And then these can be like this. So, in case you ever wondered why we use theory data, it's to make this a lot less of, of all that stuff. So one of the things we could do is move all that theory data up into the member data, which I think we probably will at some point. So we'll go ahead and put that comment there, and then we can move the rest up. All right, so this should go back to succeeding. It does. So let's put our pre-enumerate theories back in here, and now it goes to failure. And now we're back to the single question mark, double question mark, instead of double quad question mark. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. And I don't think it's the argument formatter that's to blame, right? I think it's the serialization of strings that is to blame. So if I were to go look, let's go just for fun. Oh, hey, there's a new PowerShell. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do, we don't have PowerShell. Let's do PowerShell. That's not the one I wanted. Let's literally do like PowerShell, not PowerShell 7. Okay, well, that apparently isn't wired up. Is .NET in my path? All right, .NET tool install. It's .NET tool something. Maybe update. Okay, let's close all those. Let's do .NET tool update global PWSH PowerShell. This is PowerShell, huh? So yes, I installed PowerShell core via, oh, isn't that great? 713. So you're just going to give me the same error again because whoever is responsible for the PowerShell.NET tool has not gotten around to updating it to 714. Well, that happens. And it must have literally just happened because I didn't see that an hour ago. All right, well, anyway, time marches on. Okay. So this isn't really a problem with argument formatters so much as it has to be a problem with serialization, right? We're trying to send these strings over, and that's probably because of this, which is essentially using the binary serializer to serialize the value. And so I think what the problem is in these cases, when it tries to serialize this string as an argument value to this theory, it is saying, hey, by the way, you're not legal, right? And so you get thrown over there. Actually, thinking about this, I'm not 100% sure that I know what I can do about that. Because we've resorted to being on the binary serializer, we're sort of subject to the whims of what's legal and what's not legal. And I think, we're not going to change the serialization of strings. So the reality is that, at least in this particular case, we have, it's just fundamentally an illegal string. So I think what's going to end up having to happen here is we're going to just have to ignore this for the moment. Let's see if I can trigger the problem I was having before in V3 and see if that really sort of brings it to the forefront. So let's go back to here, and we'll do a hard reset, and then we'll swap back to our V3 TCP runner. One of the things I had done was added the ability to run here with the V3 runner. So let's go ahead and turn that on. See what happens when we try and run. So what we do today when we run a build, all the V3 tests don't go through the console, don't go through the external console runner, they go through the in-prop console runner. And so the external console runner obviously requires V3 runner utility to be done in order to run those tests. So here we have a whole bunch of things failing. And that's actually not what I expected. We have a bunch of transition problems. So what's kind of curious about this is like this very, I closed git K, why did I do that? What's kind of curious about this is like, Like I think this unabnormal termination thing is something I was trying to add because we definitely have issues here, like trying to track an abnormal termination. And so I think that that's what's going on here, right? Abnormal termination from the vibrator. But nobody's actually reacting to it. But I have a bunch of other things commented out here, or commented in, depending on how you want to look at it. You know, in particular here in the TCP execution engine, I have a bunch of stuff commented out doing this. I wonder if I roll back a change. Yeah, so my ability to run these things, I kind of want this change, this testfx console change. I want it on dev, so that I can rebase everybody on top of that. So that's actually what I'm going to do. So let's grab this for the time being. Actually, let's make it false again first. So let's grab this and go back to dev, and then come in here and make this change. Let's make sure that this doesn't break anybody. Build testfx console. Oh, we got stuff still running. Yeah. We got stuff still running. You're going to be down here somewhere, maybe? I don't see any XUnit stuff running. Maybe it's just .NET stuff that needs to be not running. So let me kill all of this. Say stop all .NET. Try it again. By the way, not cleanly shutting down is obviously clearly a very serious problem as well that needs to be resolved. We have a lot of work to do in a v3 runner set. Okay, so this looks like it's going to do its thing. All right, we just got into the v2, so this will be the end of it, v2 and then v1. Okay. So open this back up in VS Code. This obviously should fail right now, because what should happen is it'll try and run these things and it'll say, hey, I can't run these things. What are you talking about? Unknown test framework, couldn't find v1 or v2. It was able to run a utility tests, which I find fascinating. I think because run utility tests have v2 execution DLL hanging out in them, so it ran them with v2, which I don't understand. But it didn't actually, well, yeah, I do understand that. It didn't actually find anything because there are no actual v2 tests in here. That's a little weird, but whatever. So let's go ahead and put this back to false. So that should be the exact same change that we have elsewhere. Let's go ahead and commit this. All right, let's do add ability to run v3 tests via the v3 console runner. And we wake GPG up, because of course we do. Wake up GPG. Okay. Let's push that. Let's switch back. Let's rebase. And here we have conflict, which don't care. Like, I want the left-hand side, right? Yeah, that's the only problem there, is I want the left-hand side. Okay. Now what this should let me do, let me push that up as well. So now when I come over here to I have no idea what I'm doing, TestFX console should disappear. Very good, because that went here, so it got rebased out. Now I should be able to roll back. Let's roll back one. Not C, I think it's D for detach, right? Yeah, okay. So if I detach back here and then turn this back on, let's see what happens when we try and run console tests. In case you're wondering exactly what I'm doing, trying to figure out where I left myself from way long ago. Well, isn't that interesting? They ran. Yeah, that's definitely weird, right? It's kind of interesting that I have to run the V2 tests separately. I think so. In the old days, I used to run the V1 test separately from the V2 test because they used to stomp on each other on process-wide stuff like current directory. So I probably still have to leave those things out. Don't know though. So there's 64-bit. Let's see, 32-bit. Oh, that's probably because I didn't turn on 32-bit, did I? Interesting that we didn't actually try and run any 32-bit things. And we got a file not found because we had no files for 32-bit. All right, I did something wrong here then. Yeah, I definitely did something wrong here. We're not running 32-bit anymore. So I'm looking for xunit v3 assert. Oops, here in source. Assert tests bin. Release x86 net 472. So the net fx is bin configuration text underscore x86 net 4. Bin release services. Yeah, so that's correct. Base folder, search optional, directories, v3. Oh, it's not v3 tests. It's v3 tests x86.exe, isn't it? Yeah, that's why. Okay. I should go fix that in dev. because we just stopped running all the 32-bit tests. So there's 64. There we go. There's a bunch of the kind of stuff I expected. Error during message processing. Unable to create collection factory for type. Blah 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 blah. The JSON value could not be converted to xunit.failure cause. Path $.cause. Well, that's not at all what I expected either. You are a test failed. Also interesting that this only happens on 32-bit. Getty cause is assertion. JSON value cannot be converted to xunit.failure cause. $cause. That's weird. So let's stash this. Let's go back to dev. Let's pop this. But these all need to go back to false before they get checked in. Alright, so that's just a bad path. A, git amend, force push, switch back to v3, go back to dev again, another force push, and then detach, back one. Then we can go pull our truths out here. The other thing we can do is if only 32-bit is failing, we can comment that out, and then we can comment all of this out. And let's see if we still have a failure. Yep, we do. So error during message processing. So you come up with a cause assertion, and we can't convert the word assertion into an xunit.failure cause. Okay, well, let's see if we can figure out why that is. That's okay. You're an XUnit v3 common. XUnit v3 common does not have is not a multi-targeted build, right? You are just net standard. Okay. So the serialization of this shouldn't be an issue? I don't know. I mean, this is coming through as JSON, so it's not like we're doing... Yeah. That's weird, right? What tests do we have around failure cause? So we have test failure tests, test failed tests. Yeah, but this is the weirdness of going across the border. So it could be this. It's actually maybe the test that's one of the tests that's failing, right? So the tests that are failing, we don't necessarily see. So the actual test that's failing does not implement IX unit collection factory. So this looks like a realistic actual failure, right? Does not implement IX unit test collection factory. This has got to be the test, right? I feel like this is the test. Okay. Extensibility point factory test, get X unit test collection factory. You're in core. So first of all, you're my startup project. Next, debug, we're going to do class extensibility point factory tests. Get X unit test collection factory. Get X unit test collection factory. But we're going to switch this from a project launch to executable launch. And we need to also then dev. Alright, so we do XUnit v3 runner console. Then sure, we'll call it debug. Although we now need to pass in the name of our executable, which is going to be xunit.v3.core tests bin debug net 472 xunit v3 core tests x. Okay. So that ran everything. Did not appear to care about our class argument at all, which I find very strange. All right. So if I run that and that, totally ignoring my class. You know what? That's probably the case because I bet I don't have filters set up for v3 yet. Maybe this isn't the test that's failing that I thought was failing. Maybe that's the problem, right? So if I come here and then instead of this, I do this, and for each one of those I do that, except I run this is the only exe that I'm going to run. Alright, so that needs to be in quotes. Then I really don't need XML and HTML outputs. I'll run them one at a time. Should. That way we can see who's failing and why. See if we can get a repro. V3 core tests. Oh, yeah, x86. Duh. I knew that. So the x86 tests don't get built in Visual Studio. All right, the x86 tests get built the second time when we come through actually, how are they getting built? Oh, they're probably not, right? So if I do build configuration debug, all right. Let me come back to Visual Studio. That should give us that. Okay, what happened here? Show back up Visual Studio. Core tests. Debug executable, blah, 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 specified in blah, 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 doesn't exist. Really? We just built you. We run our console in debug x. Oh, you know what? Yeah, debug x86, actually run our console x86.exe. Debug x86, and then this has been the x86.exe. Yeah, we didn't just change the path, we also changed the names. There we go. So you're telling me this fails. Error during message processing. We have a failed test, and we can't deserialize it. Well, this is going to seem like a dumb test, but I'll throw that in Notepad. What if I ask you to run this directly? Will you continue to fail? Yeah. Couldn't find a constructor for extensibility point. Arguments type Castle Proxy's interface proxy. Unable to create test collection factory type XUnit v3 core test extensive blah 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 blah. No compatible constructor. Test collection factory type. Are you really the test collection factory type? No compatible constructor. Where is no That's this. All right. So we expected it to say, couldn't find constructor. So that's this one. Because we asked you to do no compatible constructor. But instead, I'm unable to create test collection factory type. That's here. Serialization get type. So serialization helper get type shouldn't be failing. My guess is that it's failing because it's not public. So we go find the assembly and load it, and we call assembly get type, which is of course the version that has no docs. Why would I want docs? So that one doesn't say anything about publicness. This one doesn't say anything about publicness. Should just go be able to get the type. This collection, blah, 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 does not implement it, unable to create the type. All right. Feel like we're going to have to step in here. It's actually probably here. It's our message sync. It's our attribute, which points at collection behavior. That's sure. Our assembly is test assembly, which is fake, obviously, assembly ID. Okay, F11. Test collection factory type. This is our collection behavior attribute, which looks legitimately real. So we have constructor args, no compatible constructor, and v3 core tests. Okay. So that comes over here. CTOR args 0 is string type name. CTOR args 1 is string assembly name. We can get that. So our assembly name is that. And our type name is that. So far, so good. Serialization helper get type. So for that assembly, we should already be, oh, we're not. Core tests. It's not v3 core tests, it's v3 core tests x86. Well, isn't that interesting, isn't it? Right? Is this because of the way we're building? The assembly name shows up differently? If I were to call app domain current domain get assemblies, somewhere up near the top. Here we are. Core test x86, but not core tests. How has this worked in the past? What's the test? Is the test just broken? No. Factory type name. Aha! Yes! The test is just broken. How has this worked in the past? Alright. When we do an x86 build, what does that look like? Build. Build x86 is true. That is a MS build property. Okay. Does that ever show up? How would that get surfaced? Build property like that probably doesn't get surfaced unless I go look for it. Right? Because I need to do... Let's see. This is going to help, right? I want one of my probably targets. Let's see who's looking for build x86. So we have one in direct build props. So there's a property group. Assembly name, intermediate output path configuration, platform target. But we don't necessarily do any defines. Right? So let's go ahead and do that. So this is for tests. So let's do this. We'll say build x86. That's one of our defined constants. And now we come back to our test. Which will basically say if build x86, else and if. And here we'll do x86. Mr. Wilsox. I'm going to assume that that's Mr. Matthew Wilson. I wasn't really trying to hide, but I can understand the confusion. All right. I see a V3 core test, blah, 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 blah. So still not. Oh, yeah, I have to rebuild. Because, of course, Visual Studio isn't building x86. How are you today, sir? Build, build, build. Does that fix our tests? No. Test collection, factory type, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we now have the right message. It just is missing stuff. And so what we can do here is anything that says this, we can replace. Right, we can do factory. This is factory. No, this is a message. Expected message. Expected message is expected message. Replace this with this. And then build. Just got out of bed. Can we target power or Spark 64, please? None of this pedestrian x86 stuff. No. Although, you know, I can probably get... I don't know if that's true. Can I get an ARM build of something running in a virtual machine on an x86 64 Windows box? I don't know. I do not know. So that fixes those tests. Strange, very strange. All right, so let's do test FX console. Let's go ahead and run all those. See if that fixes that. Yeah, I'm sad to say that I have no VAXs into which to 5270 myself or anything like that. Okay, so we still have another failure here in this. So this is still core, right? Core tests. Still failing. Let's see what happens if I go back to running everything. See if I can figure out now. What else is failing here? Reflection, abstraction, extensions test. This is very likely to be assembly names again. And then I'm looking forward to runtime method. And when using non-reflection type info, method exists, returns method info. Right. So this is going to be assembly names again. If build x86. I love all operating systems except Windows. You know, I feel you on that one. Why is this a DLL? Shouldn't this be an exe? Yeah, I feel you on that one. I would normally be running Linux. Unfortunately, you know, Microsoft locked down access to Linux, and so it forced me for my Linux day job, to switch over to Wizzle, which is actually not bad. And of course, it gives me access to real Visual Studio, which, frankly, trying to do .NET in VS Code is ridiculously painful. Okay. I am curious why these say DLL and not exe. And whether or not that breaks things. To say exe, because they really should say exe. And we'll give that a shot. It'd be nice for me to figure out how to build this stuff inside Visual Studio. Okay. So the other one is going to be non-reflection type info type exists. It's going to be this one. Alright, so this will be x86. We'll build. We'll run. Okay. Let's do this in debug as well, just so that it's always building debug for me. Everybody builds. All right, that's a good sign. Question is, all these things, why didn't all these things fail before? All right, that's the bit I don't get. These should have failed before. Let's stash this. Let's go back to dev. Really? Oh. That's why I didn't fail before, because we never had assembly name in here before. Is that true? That just feels wrong. But maybe that's the way it was. No spaces. Probably change the assembly names because of wanting to be able to run everything at the same time and not have all the same assembly names. So that probably happened in a V3 branch, and that's what broke the tests. Okay, that said, this is all nonsense. This is definitely all nonsense now. And these should be false, because of course they're never going to succeed like that. And we can run 2 and 1 again. Well, let's just do build. We'll see what our diffs are while the thing is running. And we can drop that stash. Alright, so we have an assembly name, we have a defined constant. We bring in the assembly name here. And assembly name here. Okay. That should be pretty simple. Those should all pass still. Okay, so that's 64-bit all ran. Here comes 32. 32 is running. Right. Nobody failing. And then there's V2 on MS build. V1 on MS build, very good. Okay. Rename x86 assemblies. And fix up tests broken by the rename. Okay. Push. Okay. Let me go back and detach. No, let me go back to V3. Let me rebase on dev again. Hardly surprised we screwed up this. That's because we pulled in the rename. That's okay. Sure. And then let's go ahead and actually let's push this. Actually, let me detach and build and see what happens. Oh, oops, except not that. First, let's come over here and enable these so we can build and run with the new rudder. Let's see what's going on here. Is everybody going to run? Yeah, there's 64 and 32. 64 and 32 should all be able to run together. But this fix definitely is good. Okay. And that can stay. So let's drop our stash. And let's go back. Stash that. Let's go back to v3. Let's push that. And now here's the interesting question is, will these now run here on my panic commit, where I have no idea what I'm doing? So what did I do here? I added abnormal termination as a message type, right? I added it as an action. So the engine runner on abnormal termination is sending a broadcast message, which probably nobody is listening to. Yeah, so this is all broken. And frankly, I don't know why I have it, if I'm being completely honest, if it's all broken. What was I trying to do here? Right, so the XUnit 3 changes seem fine. These changes in execution engine don't seem fine. Why did I do all of that? Alright, since this is pushed, let's do this. Let's do that. Actually, I could have just done a reset and then reset soft, because I want to restore this. TCP execution engine. Like, all that stuff seems like stuff I still want to do. Okay. I don't know. This is the problem with trying to come back 3 months later and fix whatever was broken. When you don't know what was broken, yeah, a bunch of shit's locked. Is it .NET or is it going to be MS Build that's locking everything? It was probably .NET. Just never write broken code. Nothing to fix 3 months later. If only I had thought of that. Well, I guess here's my next problem is, well, problem, not problem, I really don't know. Clearly I was adding the ability to report abnormal termination as a broadcast message. Oh. Right? And then temporarily dumping standard out the standard error. I don't particularly remember why I changed all these things. Create no window true, error dialog false. Some of these changes I don't think I want. right? This part I like, that part I don't. Alright. Commit messages are going to explain what I was thinking. You're assuming I was thinking, which is not necessarily a good thought. Alright, so buffer TCP client, I think I'm okay with all those changes, right? That's the abnormal termination, so I'm okay with that. Alright. And I'm okay with the runner engine changes, right? Because that's subscribing to that. XUnit 3 is the one I want to pick. Test FX console I don't care about. So let's pick on this. Don't want that. I don't want that. I do want that. Let's add this. Put that in the first place. Can you believe it? Another whip. Rip. My fingers knew what I wanted. Alright. Let's fix that. One more time through the console builds anyway. Console runners. Problem is I really need to sort of review where I've been. I mean, I now basically have 4 commits that say, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. So the first question I have is, does that mean I should collapse them all? Because the other thing I can and probably should do is the x86 and the x64 can all run in parallel now. So that's over here in VS Code. Which is essentially this to do. Let's assume that we're definitely going to do this. And we'll just move this where up here. We'll do test star exe. We'll move the 32-bit subpath up here. So you either need to contain a NetFX subpath or you need to be not mono and you contain NetFX 32 subpath. And then we just kill that, and then we kill all of that, and we do that. Mono's only supported for V3. One last time through the gauntlet here. The thing that makes me want to collapse all the work in progress commits is that when I was doing the rebase earlier this week, what I noticed was for sure very strange things related to one of the commits, like the tests can't even run. The tests just outright fail. So is that really a valid step to save? Doesn't feel like it. Okay. Test execution summary. Why are you not sorted? Okay. Why are you not sorted? Summaries by assembly unique ID. These we have the assembly display name, which is the assembly display names of the assembly unique ID. We're not sorted because we don't know what the display name is. And we don't know what the display name is because everything is by unique ID. Assembly display names come from here, though. You're done, right? What is the easiest way for me to fix this? I think it's to fix summaries, right? So you accept an assembly name and a summary, and you add your assembly name and summary. And we go back and get the assembly display names by looking for assembly metadata. So let's do this instead. Let's say summaries with display name is summaries select summary. So given a summary, actually that's going to be a key value pair, isn't it? Summaries is, nope, actually it's not. We got key value pairs out of here. Summaries by assembly unique ID, so then that's summary. That's our tuple. So given that, we want to return summary assembly unique ID, and then we want to do this, which we'll call assembly name, right? And your unique ID is this. So the end result of that is now a tuple that includes the assembly name, which we'll call assembly display name. That's really what it is. And let's make this readable, because it's like a billion fucking columns wide. All right. And then we'll to-list this for fun. No, we don't want to. We want to do an order by first. Assembly display name, which should have a capital A. If I'm, doing my thing. And then we'll to-list it. Longest display name. So this is going to be summaries with display name, max, summary. Summary value. Oh, that was display name. Yeah, okay. Come on. Summary display name. Here we say for each summary assembly unique ID assembly display name in summaries display name. Whoa. That's not the help I wanted, Visual Studio. Okay. let's get some sorting. Of course, I immediately failed tests for the thing that I just changed. Of course I did. Because they're now sorted by name. Longer name, nothing, short. Run our common tests. Yeah, that makes it better. So the other thing I should probably do, since we're here... actually, I can't do that yet. Don't think the console runner will run .NET Core yet. Well, we think maybe. We think maybe. Alright. Now let's see what happens. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It's fine. Actually, let's go do test FX console. All right. Hey, look, sorting. And we got 32 and 64-bit all running together. I don't think I can run V1 and V2 together because of the aforementioned current directory problem. So I think that's as collapsed as I can get everybody. But I like it. So, come over here. I feel like we fixed two problems in one commit. This is staying here. SFX console is staying here. But the default runner reporter stuff, I feel like I should take those down into dev with me. So testfx console, I should merge into this existing commit. Stash that, back to dev, pop that stash. Of course we have a merge conflict. Why don't we? I want the right-hand side. All right, is that the only conflict? That's the only conflict. And just need to build this, I think. Execution summary does not contain a definition for summary. No accessible extension methods summary accepting a first argument of execution. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, what did I do? Oh, that's true. How did that build last time? Summary.summary.total. All right. That's weird. I guess that commit came elsewhere. And I'm just being dumb. Summary, assembly, unique ID, assembly display name. Yeah, that probably just came elsewhere. So where's the other red? There you are. Time. More red? You got more red here? Another one? Many others? Yeesh. Okay, we stopped doing red. Let's go ahead and run the default runner command handler tests. Make sure I didn't screw anything up. Very good. And I don't know why I'm doing this build, because I obviously had to build in order to just run those tests, so stop being a dummy. And that's just... So these got sorted. And we used it. Okay, good. Sort execution summary. Display name. It's weird because that's a feature we used to have. I just don't know when I fucked it up. That's fine. Back we go. Of course we have a merge conflict. When don't we? And this time we want the left. Go. Actually, damn it, I didn't want to pop the stash. I wanted to drop it, but it turns out popping it was fine because there were no changes. Right. Alright. Run this build. Hour and a half I've been at this. Have I done anything of substance yet? Don't think so. I mean, you know, little tiny things. Little tiny things that probably all needed to be done. Yeah? Yeah? Then we're going to push this. We can get rid of this. I have no idea what we're doing because we pretend to know what we're doing now. Oh, hey, look at that. I see you. Error during message processing. Oh no. We have another one that's failing. So this would be... Shit, we don't know what assembly this is in. And of course, like a dummy, got rid of this. But, however, we can steal, change back, steal that change back. And at least here in the FX console, we can do this. If false, else, and if and this would be except we want to do this exec and not that one, I think. Actually, let's try the direct run. A direct run should fail. Alright. Direct run should fail. And should fail with a more useful message. This is certainly something that needs to get resolved. Like, the failure usability problem here is, like, legitimately bad. Except, of course, now it's not going to fail, is it? Of course not. Okay. Try again. See if we can figure out where our failure is. Please don't tell me it only fails when I run them all together. Please don't tell me it's flaky. One last time. Yeah. Don't love it. Definitely don't love it. Alright, not that there's anything here or there about this, but this is also a little bit weird. Why does the 32-bit version take twice as long as the 64-bit version? Only in that scenario. Right? Those two look fine, those two look fine. That one look, those are fine, those are fine, those are fine. Those are fine. Those are fine, those are fine. Why just you? I honestly don't know. Alright. So what's sitting there is that. Well, this didn't help. Mono is only support for v3. How about we English? Mono is only support, yes. That is the name I want. v3 output file name XML, v2 output file name XML. Yeah, okay. Alright. I think I'm done with you. And you're going to get pushed. Yeah. Alright. So, let's do a little Linux testing. Let's find out whether Linux wants to start today. There we go. First of all, does dev build on Linux? Dev builds on Linux, and I'm willing to promote. I think I'm willing to promote everything from dev into main. All right, try catch around deserialization, pre-enumerated off for v2, add v3, which is turned off, rename x86, sort execution summary, all that looks okay. To be in main, I'm not likely to change my mind about that. Let's actually go ahead and do that. Get ready for that push. Okay, those all ran. All right. We can promote that stuff up into main. And now, this. V3 packaging. V3 packaging? V3 packaging. All right, X Windows VM. Where you at? Thank you. V3 packaging. How old is V3 packaging? Let's get up pages. At least as old as that. V3 packaging. Updates for needed packaging. IL repack version. Package download. IL repack. I feel like I did all this IL repack. What is all of this? All right. Yeah, 2013. 2013. This definitely shouldn't be up there anymore. It's still up there because I haven't. No, I pulled. That thing should go away. Go away. Okay, you pull. This I'm less confident on. I actually don't know if I've ever actually run these things on Linux before or not. Of course Alt F4 doesn't work. Why would it? Thanks, Linux. Actually, I can't blame Linux for that one. It's GitK. GitK just has stupid keyboard shortcuts. Alright, is this a flaky test again? Okay, what's the error? The actual error here is can't get a failure cause out of cause. That's the same damn thing. What is causing this? No pun intended. So it throws it as a, well, at least it throws it as a failed test. Or a failure of some kind. You're going to fail again. Oh, you're going to fail again. But why? Cause is assertion. JSON value could not be converted to execute failure cause. Path, $cause. This is, well, it's horseshit. So I kept this. This is happening in runner common, huh? Runner common, runner common, runner common. Let's go steal a test. Comma class WTF. Wow. What in the world is happening right now to this box? Who is destroying me? Nothing looks ridiculous. Fact. Sorry, you're the problem. Yeah. Visual Studio has lost its mind. We're just going to go ahead and finish it. I don't really know what your damn problem is. Visual Studio. Hard crash, please. Where was I? I was over here. That file did not ever get saved. That's great. Alright. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Let's take this back over here and let's turn that into that, I guess. JSON serializer, deserialize. I think I need a type, right? UR test failed. Test failed? I think you are. Test failed of S. You're just gonna fail? What are you gonna do? M is an invalid start of a value. $sign. Oh yeah, that's true. That's right. That's the whole message. I just need the JSON part. Well, sure as shit. JSON value cannot be converted into an xunit.failure cause. Path $.cause. Why? What's wrong with assertion? What's wrong with assertion? Spelled the same and everything. Cause is not a valid value. Enum is defined failure cause value. But we never really get here, right? This is actually a serialization error from here. Is it unable to read it as a string? Is that what the problem is? Do I need to configure the serializer to do this? In which case 1 would be the value we want. And then after that, failure cause, assertion, TF cause. The reference of a possibly null value. True. It does not like strings. So how do we get serialized with a string but can't get deserialized with a string? Message sync message. This is going to be where we are. So this is message sync message. Parse JSON. So this should be message sync message. Message sync message parse JSON of S will give us back a TF. Test failed of our TF. this is going to be actually message. I don't know why I'm putting underscores in here. Parse JSON wants read-only bytes of the serialization. Of course you do. Bytes. You're going to be encoding UTF-8 get bytes. And go. Okay. Assertion. Sure as shit. Alright. We at least know where the bug probably is, which should be somewhere in message message tests. Alright, let's go yank this thing out of here. And go over here, message tests, and say, hey, our deserialization should, serialize as enums as strings. Great. Public void can deserialize string enum. Test message with enum, right? So we take this as our value. That's our value. Then we want result is message sync message parse JSON coding UTF-8 get bytes of our message assert equal failure cause assertion result cause. Test message with enum. Probably can't get deserialized actually. Because our deserialization is very picky on types. Deserialize whatever you want, but I'll do test failed. Test failed. Test failed cause. Okay, this is common tests. V3 common tests. There we go. There's our failure. Okay. So parse JSON uses deserialize. But toJSON uses serialize. toJSON uses the UTF-8 JSON writer. Only serialize public read-write properties without JSON ignore? Sure. Write property name, prop writer, JSON serializer options. This is probably the thing that has our JSON string enum converter in it. So, probably means we need JSON serializer options right there. How incredibly smart of me to figure out that you could serialize things and never test that they could be deserialized back. How smart of me. How smart of me. Okay. That's good. That's a good change. That's currently on main. I'm fine with that being on main, right? Yes. Yes, I am. Fix issue with JSON deserialization of enum values. And we'll run a full round trip on this. Okay. That part looks good. On an MS build. Okay, push that. Let's go to dev. FF only. From main. Push dev. Let's go to v3. I'll rebase that. I'll push that up. Okay. Everybody. Now, do you work on Linux or not? Okay. Build failed, why? I'll pretend that made sense. Hey, a failing test that actually fails. Love it. It's fan-freaking-tastic. And this is because we've definitely seen cases where the TCP engine tests are flaky on Linux, probably because TCP engine it just isn't done yet. We got a disposal error from systemnet sockets. That's fantastic. So exciting. Right. I'm just going to pretend that this TCP socket engine thing that I have invented is not going to cause me to age 40 years in the next hour. All right. Well, having that as a failure aside, it appears that everything else is okay on the Linux side. And the deserialization failures are now done. Deserialization errors should now be done. Okay. All right. So that's 2-hour mark. I feel like I want to take a break. I don't know if I want to come back to this or not. Yeah, I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I kind of feel like I want to collapse some of this stuff, although the fact that it doesn't exactly work on Linux makes me reluctant to collapse everything. On the other hand, I don't know exactly what all of the things are that I'm doing. like whether I can, maybe I can merge some of these instead. These are definitely failing tests on the Linux side, right? So if I grab this, let's detach head here and build malloc consolidate invalid chunk size. What? When was the last time I did this? There's at least a new version of .NET Core buried in all of that. And since these errors appear to be .NET Core errors, well, it's only 3.1 that's in there, not 5. We use 5. So maybe nothing. Of course, libSSL, OpenSSH seem to be like a vulnerability in those every 2 or 3 weeks these days. All right, well, I'm going to let that go, and then maybe see if I can get some stabilized build out of this. I don't know. I don't feel like I got a lot done, but I do feel like I got things done that needed to be done. It just necessarily wasn't what I wanted. Anyway, I'm gonna take a quick break. I might stream again. I might drown my sorrows in video games. I don't know yet. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see y'all next time.